Hello, this is Jay Levine, and you're listening to J Radio. Today, with me in the studio is Tony Nikolovsky, a proud author of the book Shitzomaniacs, a graduate student from the University of Toronto, Mississauga, who would really much so want to pursue a career in geography and history, but couldn't find it in the job market, unfortunately. Here he is talking about the art and challenges of bullshitting and incompetency in professional fields. Thank you so much for being here, Tony.
So happy that you're happy that I'm here.
No, I'm very glad. Now, I've read the book. Very interesting. I could totally relate to some of the things that you've written about. But for those who haven't read it, briefly talk about what it's about and what were your goals going into the book.
Well, the title of my book is Shitzomaniacs, and if you're wondering what the word means, it's essentially another subset of bullshitters nobody really truly unpacked or unveiled yet until I did. These are most scholars claim that bullshitters are those that don't really understand the facts, may not know the facts, but they cover it up as if they do know the facts. And I argue that since bullshit is essentially deceit, that there's another way to deceive people in thinking that you're actually lesser than you really are. So these schizomaniacs are rather bullshitters that have a high degree of knowledge, but they pretend that they don't so that they can avoid a task or have things served on a silver platter for them.
So, schizomaniac sounds like a very interesting term. So, they are perhaps the most extreme examples of those bullshitters out there in the world, which is very dangerous. Um, was there one person in particular who inspired you to write, or were all the characters in your book one of those who fueled your energy to write such a fantastic book?
Well, it's kind of hard to choose one individual in this book because they're all really disgusting in different ways. They all consume some sort of terror shit one way or another. But, one day I wake up thinking this guy, the other day I think is this lady is truly an agglomeration of just an overpowering, as I call, schizosphere in this world. And each individually has inspired me to write this book.
And you mentioned in your novel about the schizosphere, and you connected some geographical terms to make them useful from your degree, essentially.
Yes.
Um, with that said, a lot of people produce it. How do we combat such a dangerous act?
Well, like with everything in life, the first thing to do is to understand the problem. So when I wrote this book with the intention to have people enlightened on this topic so that they know how to combat it. So that you're not really pushed around or manipulated throughout this world. You have this brain, it's logical, it's critical, and when somebody tells you it spews bullshit, because everybody, as you mentioned, can produce it as well as receive it. It's an innate human trait. So to read this book, to get enlightened on these idiots, what I call schizomaniacs, as you know, would really combat this. It would say, hey, I know you're bullshitting me right now. And then when somebody knows that you're somebody that, detects bullshit, you will be less likely to be bullshitted at.
Oh, that's 100% true. And you mentioned a little bit earlier about the innateness of BSing, and some people are born with it. You mentioned chronic and acute. For those listeners who don't know the terms, would you mind briefly defining those?
Yeah, actually, throughout writing my book, I've came across one other one. So there's actually three. There is the acute incompetence, the chronic incompetence, and the anu shitsulakus, which will the term that I've invented will stay confidential for personal reasons. But so acute incompetence are used by those that are actually truly competent in the thing, but they, like I said, they dumb themselves down. They play dumb in order to pretend like they don't know something so that they don't have to perform a task. To give you an easy example, you pretend you didn't know that washing the dishes after yourself was a good thing, and you go upstairs and you pretend like you forgot. Then when your parents ask you why you didn't wash the dishes, you can say, "Oh, I forgot. Oops." And then it justifies that when you had this sense of stupidity and like sense of gullibility or whatever you want to call it. Chronic means you just innately couldn't grasp a concept. For example, no matter how long you've learned physics for, you'll never understand it. That's chronic. You'll never understand. That's chronic incompetency. And the last one is anu shitsulakus. And I give these guys this uh, separate distinction. It's a separate category of their own. It's quite idiosyncratic. It's when this individual paradoxically applies acute incompetency chronically. They have a chronic tendency to apply acute incompetency or AI.
AI sounds like artificial intelligence.
or Allen Iverson.
Well, thank you so much for being here tonight. It was a pleasure talking with you, and I learned a lot about what you've written about.
Thank you so much for listening to me, and hopefully you've been enlightened on this subject as well.
Of course, and to wrap things up, what are your final words for those people who are in the same boat as you, who have to deal with such incompetent people on a daily basis?
Well, I would like to say that any professional that does not act professional should not be rewarded for their incompetence. And if they pretend that their IQs are two digits, but they receive six-digit paychecks, that's not just in any way. They should not be unrightfully triumphing. And that those that are like me, undergraduates that have similar experiences, they need to read the book, get enlightened, and then literally expose them when they see it.
You hear that, folks? Be enlightened, do your research, and challenge those idiots in this world. Thank you so much, Tony, for being here. And this was J. Levine, 1984. Bye bye.